Welcome to
Excellent.
the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Ketriana. I really appreciate you inviting me to your show.
Yeah.
My company is called Truly Brooklyn. I don't know which camera's on. My company is called Truly Brooklyn. We represent all things Truly Brooklyn. What that means is that we do curated itineraries for people who are local, but also for people who are visiting from overseas or out of town. We make sure that they have a guide to show them exactly where to find a true Brooklyn expression, as opposed to just wandering around and following all the major advertisements that all the new businesses are coming in. We like to celebritize the mom and pop shops.
Okay, the little couple that we have left.
Yes, the couple we have left.
You keep doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, so usually for me, I like to introduce people, tell them how I met you.
Oh,
or
yes.
whatever. So another former guest, Meridian Lights, that was on my show like last year, that is like my number, I love them. And so it was a secret show on Valentine's Day, and that's how I found out about yours, Truly.
About Truly Brooklyn, yes.
Truly Brooklyn. And it was a contest
Yes.
to write something about Brooklyn. So
And you were the winner.
and I was the winner.
Yes.
And that's how we met. And
Yes.
now he's a guest on my show. And that was a fabulous night. And
Oh, I'm glad you thought so.
And so how did you meet Meridian Lights?
So that was a great show. That was Valentine's Day. We did a secret concert. It was part of a Dear Brooklyn campaign. We had asked people to submit a Brooklyn letter, a Dear Brooklyn letter, whether it was like, oh, Dear Brooklyn, I remember when I was 16 and we were, turning on the fire hydrants, or Dear Brooklyn, what happened to you with all these new people coming in and all these new. And so we did this, and we were offering free entrance to our secret performance, which was Meridian Lights, who I met years before through a mutual friend of ours, Anthony Marshall, who had managed them as an artist. He had initially introduced me to them, and we became friends. I really loved what they were doing. They were and are such wonderful people, so much so that when my son's preschool had asked all the parents if there was any musically inclined people that were willing to visit, I reached out to Yohembe and Bradley, and they were so generous to take the time and sing a couple songs in my son's classroom. And at that point, I was completely won over. They're great people.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And I actually met them, I guess it's been maybe 4 years. It was at in the Brooklyn Winery, one of the restaurants in the yard of the bar, and they were one of the performers. And the first thing I said to them was, you're my number 6. And I said, I know you're like, what does that mean? So I'm like,
But you're a big Prince fan.
Exactly.
So to be number 6 amongst
I'm
Prince.
like everyone that's at the top, like Sting, Santana, Stevie. Yeah.
So they're in good company.
Hello. So that was my compliment to them.
That's a huge compliment.
So I had to explain that. So even though I'm saying it, like they're my number 1 new group, and so.
Maybe your number 1 independent Brooklyn group?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I love them.
Do you have another? Do you have another independent Brooklyn group that you like a lot?
Not that no.
Number 1 Brooklyn group, independent Brooklyn group, Meridian Lights.
Yeah. There is, I just interviewed Bobby Stone. He's a rapper.
Oh, okay. I've heard of Bobby Stone.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Lil D?
No.
Out of Coney Island? Oh my gosh,
no.
This kid, he's like 14 years old. He's been, probably older than that. He's been rhyming since he was about 12. And he is just, I don't know if you're into hip hop or whatever, but just young artists coming out of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This guy, Lil D.
Okay, so I have to check
Lil
out.
D raps either on Instagram or Facebook. You're going to be blown away by this kid's talent. I mean, he's really cultivated it.
Yeah, so I have to check him out.
Yeah.
But Bobby Stone is he used to co-produce, host the comedy show here. And actually, last season, they were the People's Choice Award winners for our Be Free Awards.
Oh, nice.
And, I follow him, and I'm like, he's fabulous. Like I said, it's conscious rap, so I'm all good. And if it, so that's his tagline,
That's
which
his
is
thing.
I Vision It,
nice.
which is, well, anyway, you'll see that show next month.
I'll be looking for it. I'll be looking for it.
And I'll check out. So anyway, so tell me about you and your background and, being in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Are you born in Brooklyn? How do
Yeah.
you feel about Brooklyn?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm born in Brooklyn. I don't think you can be truly Brooklyn without being born in Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn Hospital.
Tell that to some people.
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn Hospital. First of all, I know all y'all want to be from Brooklyn. All y'all want to be from New York. We know where, there's a lot of people coming in and out of the city. Mm-hmm. If you're not born in New York or Brooklyn, let's just start there, okay?
Yeah.
Let's just start there.
You're not truly Brooklyn.
You're not truly Brooklyn. I love you still, though. Don't get me wrong. But I was born in Brooklyn Hospital in Fort Greene. Lived across the street from Fort Greene Park for the first few years of my life. Moved to Roosevelt Island with my parents.
Oh.
My parents separated. My father moved back to Crown Heights. I spent a lot of time in Crown Heights because I just kind of had there was a vibe that I really resonated with. Although all my good friends from Roosevelt Island are dear to me. I lived all over the city, though. I lived in, lived in Manhattan, up and downtown. I lived in over 6 neighborhoods in Brooklyn. But then I started to travel. I moved to California, moved to Australia. I lived in Italy for a while. Moved to Las Vegas. All the time coming back to Brooklyn to jump off. Back to Brooklyn to jump off. And I realized that I'm always coming back to Brooklyn. And every time I come back, I'm like, what is going on? Like where did everything go? And where is everybody? So I figured, you know what? It'd be great to have a resource that would tell me like, yo, what's going on when? And that would really help me to, to manage my time. So I'm not like out there searching and stuff like that. So I started to put together a little list of places that I like, places that I knew were still around, places that I liked, places that I had relationships with, places that had roots in the community, which is a really important criteria to us. And I started sharing that on my TripAdvisor. Throughout my travels, I was posting up on TripAdvisor. I realized that on TripAdvisor, I had over 50,000 readers who were reading my content. Not necessarily followers, but people that were reading my content, people that were saying that it was helpful. And I thought, man, I might have something here. Like people are really resonating with my writing, with my perspective. And I thought that that because of my unique upbringing and my experience, not only in Fort Greene, but Roosevelt Island and Manhattan, I was able to really come back full circle and communicate or review my thoughts of these places and what they meant to me. And when I learned that other people really took to that, I thought, you know what? Let me
do something.
Let me do something.
So that's interesting. We have sort of similar. When I first came back to Brooklyn, 20 years ago, I lived in Roosevelt Island.
You did?
Yes. My grandmother
gosh.
lived and my aunt, who is the mayor.
All right, now this is another. Okay,
right,
go
how
ahead.
many people in Brooklyn even know about
Roosevelt Island?
Yes.
Let alone live there.
Yes, and I used to work on Lexington Avenue, so it was like
take the tram right over.
Well, yeah, I could take the tram or the F, just two stops, 59th Street.
So you were there after the train had arrived. After the subway had arrived. Because I used to have to take the tramway to school every morning.
Okay.
So oddly enough, I was going to school. I was on Roosevelt Island going to school in Harlem.
Okay.
Taking the tram, and then when I was with my dad, I was going to school in Harlem from Brooklyn, so I had this really great
exposure.
I had like a full 360 view of the city.
Okay.
So that's why people are like, oh, you're from the city, yeah. Where are you from? like the whole city's my backyard. You know, like what?
That's great.
Yeah. So you were in Roosevelt Island, okay?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
About Roosevelt Island?
Well, about your experience there and how that.
Oh, so like I said in my piece, I had moved several places and always came back to Brooklyn. So the last time I came back, it was 1997, I believe. I returned on Halloween, and I stayed in Roosevelt Island with my grandmother, who had lived there for, I'm not sure how long, but for a long time. My aunt still lives there, and
Fantastic.
she's like, her name is Zareta Fonseca.
She's been there for a long time?
Yes, she has dogs. She walks dogs. You had to know her.
Okay. Loretta. All right.
Yeah, she smokes, so I'm sure she was always out with
Outside
dogs.
smoking with the dogs.
Yeah, like.
Well, when I lived there were no dogs allowed.
Oh, okay.
This is like.
Oh, so you.
I was like pioneer kind of year.
Okay.
76, I
Oh,
believe.
okay.
There were no dogs allowed. There was no subway. Not until
Oh.
I don't know,
So
nearly 1990.
So as you know now, it's like from when I lived there, just a short, well, even though it's been like 20 years, it's modernized, as you could say.
Sure.
Some big buildings.
Oh
and
my gosh,
some
they got a
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
I think
Starbucks, when Starbucks comes,
exactly.
there goes the neighborhood.
So as soon as you come out the subway, you're greeted by
Yeah.
Starbucks.
Yeah. And a great pizza
so
shop
all
right
the
there.
great store, like you said, mom and pop, those kind of
They're gone.
Yeah,
the deli at 575
like
Main Street
the-
is still, I believe, owned by the same people.
the flea market.
Oh, yes.
Remember the flea market near
Yeah.
the library? That's closed. Well, it was closed. I haven't been there in a while, so it did close. So I don't
did
know if it
close.
reopened.
But they have a farmer's market now by
Okay, by
the
the
exit
bridge?
of the by the
Okay.
bridge, which is good.
Yeah. Okay. So, they have, what is it, June? I know it's in June. Maybe you could do a show. Or, they have Roosevelt Island Day. I don't think
Really?
I don't think it's called that. But
Okay.
they have a lot of people. They have someone come and perform. And, it's like an all-day vendor thing.
Right on.
So,
right on.
yeah.
You know what? We're actually doing a reunion. We're doing man, it's damn near 30 years, 30, 40-year reunion September 7th at the Lighthouse Park.
Okay.
And we don't do this often, but this is when we get together. Oh my God, like 40 years deep. It's real. It's really something. People come from all over. Actually, the last time I went to the reunion, I had to fly in from Vegas. I wasn't going to miss it. I had to fly in from Vegas to see all my friends, like all the kids I grew up with, friends that I will have for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Really special
And
place.
so do you find, well, I do, that people, when you grow up in Brooklyn.
Sorry, I'm all emotional now.
Is it?
Truly,
Oh,
yeah,
you need
shit.
tissues?
Roosevelt Island,
need
that's my
tissue?
peoples. That's my peoples. Shout out, where's the camera? Shout out to Roosevelt Island peoples. I want to shout out
Yeah.
Black at Dawn, my man Sean Black, Stiz, champion, Sterling Cagle. You know,
Yeah.
the Kegels. Everybody's rocking it over there.
All right, so the Fonsecas, the Flores.
There you go. The Deckers. Anyway, y'all know who you are.
Yeah. So when you grow up in Brooklyn and like you're reminiscing now, it's like, describe like the bond that you have with people that you grow up with. Because
Okay.
I think let's see if we share the same
Sure.
opinion.
So when I moved back to Brooklyn in the early '80s, I was on Classen Avenue. I was running with a crew called the Mad Outlaws. They were like, we occupied an abandoned building on Sterling and Classen. Like, it was kind of thugged out. Like, for real. You can get a tray bag back in the day. I don't know if you all know about all that, but my relationship with my friends in Brooklyn was very, very on the level, like so street. It was crazy. Like Roosevelt Island is a different clientele, if you will, a different crowd, different demographic. But Brooklyn, it was like
Not so
Like, it was
Brooklyn.
gully. Like, my first murder, like, my friend got murdered in front of me on Washington Avenue when I was, like, 12 years old. Mad Outlaws were a local gang that, like, I might have been the youngest cat there, but this is where I learned loyalty. I learned honor. I learned about a brotherhood, kind of like this, the pact. It's like you don't rat, you don't steal. You keep you do what you say you're gonna do. You keep your word. Because that's all you got. Like, your word is bond. And I learned about the importance of that from that neighborhood, and I also learned a lot about business. I mean, through when I was young. Granted, I come from a good family. Let me just say that my parents are good people, but I explored on my own. When my parents got divorced, I kind of, I disassociated myself from the both of them because I was rebelling. And I started really my friends became my extended family. And at the time, my friends were making money selling weed or flipping cars or whatever it was. And I think that because I had both experiences of Roosevelt Island and Brooklyn, the combination, I feel like really rounded me quite well. Though my parents were divorced, my mother's side of the family is very family oriented, so I do have that sense of wanting to have a family unit to support each other. So my relationship with my people in Brooklyn are really like, they go way, way back. It's like friends forever, right?
Right.
So it's like, oh, you run around, you're doing dirt, whatever, and it's like, as you grow, you start doing less dirt, you start doing more good, and as you grow, you start trying to inspire your peoples to follow suit. And I started to feel like the only way I could really share the potential and the possibilities is by leading by example, because nobody wants to be told, oh, do this, do that, do this, that, and the third.
Exactly.
I'm one of those, I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you got to show? If I really like what you're doing, then I'm going to do this, that, and the third. But you can't just tell me do that, and the third. So anyway, so my relationship with my people in Brooklyn will be till the day I die. And a lot of my friends, have really done well. I'm happy to say. I'm a good friend with Dante, who everyone knows as Most Def. I'm a good friend of Maurice Malone, who everyone knows, Maurice Malone, which he now has a company called, what is it called? Williamsburg Garment Company, who does amazing denim. Denim's really popular in Japan. I'm sure he has a great market out there. But if anyone, is into denim, it's a good place to go to start to understand that manufacturing culture, if you will. And I can go on and on, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
But
so where did you go to high school?
So I went to high school in Chelsea.
Yep,
Actually,
I did
so
too.
You did too? I went to Humanities High School, and the only reason why is because both of the deans lived on Roosevelt Island.
Oh my goodness.
And if you had, I don't know if this is official or not, but it seems like if you had a Roosevelt Island address, you were automatically accepted.
Okay.
It wasn't the best school for me, though.
I went to high school fashion industries.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, on 23rd.
Fantastic.
And
That's a FIT? Oh,
it's
but
the
high school for FIT.
I later went to FIT, but and I went to FITM, which is the Fashion Institute Design and Merchandising in LA. So it was so at this point, it's like my little niece who's in her first year, she's also going there.
Oh,
so,
great.
And she's
so you're an alumni. You can give her a little the scoop.
Well, she's there. Her grandmother, my sister also went there, but she didn't graduate from there. But it's a great school.
You know what? It's okay that you didn't graduate. That they didn't graduate. I didn't graduate from any of the schools.
Well,
that
my
I went
sister,
to.
she
Let me
went
just say
there
that.
and then she moved to North Carolina. So she
Oh.
went to school in North Carolina.
Oh, good.
I graduated from there and moved to California after that. And, so that's...
Yeah, I actually lived in California as well. One of the reasons why I did not graduate from the School of Visual Arts is because as a student, I started a television company called, our television program called True TV. True TV was on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and it was Talent Rises Upon Exposure. That was the acronym. And I went to LA to pitch the pilot. I was during pilot season. I was like, you know what? I'm going to LA.
Okay.
Pilot season. I'm gonna pitch it. I'm gonna create this pilot, and I wind up getting a job as a graphic designer.
Okay.
However, the job was in Australia,
So
Sydney, Australia.
okay.
So I moved to Sydney, Australia.
Okay, great. So how long did you stay there?
I was there for about 14 months until they stopped renewing my visa. I would have stayed longer, but they
that's
stopped renewing my visa at 14 months, and I came back with the designer.
So let me ask you. So did you have your passport when that opportunity happened?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So as a high school student, I liked, as a high school and college student, I liked collecting stamps in my passport. That was something that I was into. Yeah, so I had a passport. Thanks to my father, actually, who also introduced me to world travel. I think
Was this military related?
No, not at all.
That's
Not at all.
unusual.
Well, my father's a photojournalist from New York Times,
Oh,
and
great.
he was doing a book on the diaspora of Africans, and he took me to Africa.
Okay.
That
Well,
was my
that's
first trip.
wonderful.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I was very,
have to
very
check it.
fortunate to have.
So is that
for
book
that.
still around?
Yeah, so that book is still around. It is called Feeling the Spirit, Searching the
that.
World for the People of Africa. He also has a book called Elder Grace about growing old gracefully. He's got a book a long time ago called Some Time Ago, which was one of his very first books. He's got a book called Black Woman. Anyway, ChesterHiggins.com. All right, Dad, I plugged you. You're
Okay.
good.
And the name sounds familiar too.
I'm
so I
sure.
probably So I have to check those out. They sound interesting.
Yeah, they're
So
great books. He's
pioneer.
very talented.
So we could have had your dad next to you.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm sure he'd be willing to come and talk to you about his work.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
So let's see. So what else? So what's the average day, and when you do your newsletter? Like, do you go? How do you find new places, or is it just? Do you visit new places weekly, or?
I do. So not only myself, but I have a small team. Royal, Renroy Chase, I told you I'm going to shout you out. And Dick Burrows, who is one of our senior writers. And then a few other people who are on our team. Aside from the place that I go personally that resonate with me, I have a plethora of resources that will feed me information, and I'll look into it, and I'll do the research and develop what the value is there. One of the criteria that we do look for is that the company or service, the person who owns it, has some roots in the community, and it obviously has been there for some time, and we feel is a real benefit to the culture and the community.
So let me ask you a question. So are you a coffee drinker?
I do drink coffee. I drink cappuccinos are my preference.
Okay. So what's your favorite New York place or Brooklyn place?
Oh, it's probably got to be Oslo's on Bedford Avenue in Williamsburg near North First Street. Oslo's great coffee house. There's also, Cafe Mogador is one of my favorite places on Wythe. I think it's in Williamsburg still, but close to Greenpoint. They have great cappuccinos there. But I got to tell you, I was spoiled. I had a cappuccino machine at home for a while. So I haven't really been visiting those places. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I just asked because it's like I was just telling someone, like today I had this experience. I was like, Bergen Bagels. That would be.
Oh, yes, Bergen Bagels.
On Bergen. So I'm like, that, and the vegetable cream cheese. I think theirs is the absolute best.
Yes.
So maybe the word is out because I go in there this morning and I'm like, what is this, like 4? I think the line was 4, like wrapped around, and it's not but so big. So I'm like, what is this, red carpet? Like, and I mean, this is what it's come to for a good, cup of coffee and a bagel. And I'm like, I think the last time I went there, and it had dawned on me like how much a cup of coffee and a bagel is these days. So I'm like $7.89 for a bagel and a cup of coffee. So then I started talking about, I haven't had a real good cup of coffee in so long.
Right.
So I went and I got a new French press, and I bought some Jamaican coffee.
Okay.
And
then
I got the cream. And it was coconut and something,
it's gotta
but
be whole milk.
I didn't really like. I don't like whole.
You don't do whole milk?
I'm not a dairy person, so I do the.
You do
and I don't like the
cream.
substitutes, the almond and the soy.
Oh yeah, me either. I don't like those either.
So
it's like
half and half, or some kind of cream.
Okay.
Okay, so I was saying that. So after spending the $7.94 for coffee and a vegetable cream cheese bagel that is good, I went to reflect back on the original coffee experience for Brooklyn or Manhattan, well, mostly Manhattan, or so we used to have the vendors. And with you get a bagel.
The bagel and a coffee for $1.50 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what has the world come to? So the original is the blue cup.
Yes, the blue cup with the Greek god or the Greek person in there.
So
that's
in my
staple.
mind, that's truly Brooklyn, coffee.
Okay.
And it was good, I mean, it was nothing wrong with getting a cup of coffee off the street.
I mean, look, at 8 o'clock in the morning, coffee and a bagel, you can't go wrong.
I'm saying that was the true Brooklyn experience that I no longer have. Because this experience that I'm having now, going in to get a bagel,
the $7 bagel and a coffee ain't working it.
Standing in line, and that's not the move. That's not like working for me.
Right.
So some things we need to recapture and keep about Brooklyn. Like my friends that left Brooklyn and they moved to, I have a friend in Savannah, so if I visit her,
Georgia.
I have to bring knishes. And,
Good for you.
I didn't even, they're the peanut.
The
cakes.
Peanut cakes, or they're like the honey roasted cashews?
No, these are Hostess, but they didn't have them in Georgia. So in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So, but now they do. So we don't have to search for it. I can't even think of them because when I was growing up, I didn't remember them. Maybe that wasn't my choice. Not like a yodel. It's sort of like a yodel,
but not like a Twinkie or anything.
It's like a Twinkie, except for it's more peanut. Same company.
Okay.
I can't even think of the name of it.
Not Payday.
No.
Okay.
It's a cake. It's like two little cakes, and. So when people leave Brooklyn, that's one of the experiences too, because whatever it is that they don't have somewhere else, it's always like, oh, can you bring me this?
Sure.
Yeah, like my sister just went to Miami and Nelly, like key lime, so that's everything.
Key lime pie,
Miami.
Yes.
So Nelly and Joe's. So I went and I bought some. Came back. I made my key lime pie. I was like, oh, that's delicious.
You made it?
Yes.
At home?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and it was good, but I just need the Nelly and Joe's. Yes. I go back, but I bought it, and I didn't put it in my suitcase, so they kept it. So that was that. So my sister went. I'm like,
who kept it?
The airport. Yeah, because if I checked my suitcase and it was in there, that would be good. But it was a glass bottle. So over the dimensions. So I'm like, so I just told my sister to bring me some. I don't even know if she got it. So that was, it's like the experience of every place. They have their one thing that you want.
Yeah. Knishes are definitely one of those from Brooklyn. I mean, beef patties are a big one from Brooklyn. There's some. I had a.
So the thing that I always like a real icy. Not okay.
How do you get a real icy?
No, because you had the people selling the icy.
Yeah,
now.
but you're talking about the crushed ice where
that's fine. You might even get them selling that. But I'm talking about the cup, the truly Brooklyn
yes.
icy white,
paper
the
cup
white
with the-
pleated cup. That's the experience.
Yes.
Okay, you know about that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
eat it.
Oh, yeah. I'm all over that.
And the paper. So let me ask you if you remember this. I grew up on Carlton Avenue. So there was a gas station on Atlantic and Carlton.
Yeah.
And so there was a white stand that was an icy stand.
There was the icy stand
So-
on that gas station premises.
Yeah.
Was it
Like
just like a
right-
cart, or was it?
It was like like, you know,
A push cart, like they
no,
have?
it wasn't a push cart. It was
Okay.
white, and it actually was still standing there for a long time after they tore down
After they
everything
tore-
else.
oh, wow.
And so I would pass, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember the icy stand." It was about no bigger than this, a little bigger than this couch,
Right.
And it was just white, a wooden shack kind of thing.
I can't say I recall
yeah.
that
So
one.
anyway, you missed that.
Oh my gosh! Well, I was on Clausen, so when I go
I
down,
was-
when I cross Atlantic Avenue
yeah.
to Clausen, I'm pretty much. I
Yeah.
wasn't going that way.
So
but damn,
I have
missed
to
it.
go in. You know, now I'm having all these memories of growing up, really
Yeah.
in Brooklyn.
Good.
And
Good. Truly Brooklyn, right
yeah,
here,
truly
right here.
Brooklyn, running across Atlantic Avenue to
Right.
where I guess now it's this Barclay Center. I believe that used to be a truck stop.
It was a train stop.
It was train stop, but it was a truck stop. Maybe it was the next block up.
There's a truck
Because
stop
they had
on.
candy, they had candy machines and I guess bathroom for the truckers. Because I used
Oh,
to
okay.
take coins and go and get candy
And get your
out
candy.
the machine
There you
across
go.
Atlantic Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
growing up.
Yeah, maybe it was a truck stop before. I know
Yes.
that there was always the train
I know
yard
what
underneath.
everything was. Yes, it was that, and still is. You know, that other part that they're building.
Right.
Yeah, like the mall was Andre's, a meat
yes.
meat packing.
Meat packing. I remember
Yeah.
Andres.
So
Wow,
let's
a
see.
long time.
What else? Let's
I mean, Brooklyn has
some important
grown,
things in Brooklyn that we remembered.
that are no longer there.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I wish my memory was that great.
Hmm.
I can, as far as I don't know what is no
Key Food.
longer there. Key Food's no longer there.
No,
sure.
AMP.
AMP.
That used to be off of Fulton and like right
And
next
Flatbush,
to the
I thought.
Ioneer Hospital that is now.
Oh, the Ioneer Hospital.
That
oh my
was- it's still
gosh,
there,
girl,
but it's
you
like-
really, you're really going there with me right now. So I don't know the Ioneer Hospital, but I am familiar with the train yards on Atlantic and Flatbush before they had the mall that's there and before they even redid the Atlantic Terminal. I remember all the hoopla that was going on. I was actually living on Hanson Place between, I think it was South Elliott and South Portland,
Okay.
when Jay-Z had gotten involved with the Barclays Center build, and it was a way, we all knew it was a way to like, to win over
Exactly.
our
I'm glad
community.
I'm glad you realized
You
that.
know, and it was like, he was just a face.
Okay.
It didn't really have nothing to do with it. I mean,
You
it had
heard
something
it.
to do with it. Jay, I ain't taking it away from me.
Right.
You was in it for a minute. I got you.
Swindle my neighborhood.
But yeah, we all know. Yeah, as soon as you bounced, it was like, what? We were stuck. So anyway, before, yeah.
with
so-
unfulfilled and
oh boy,
promises
just
that-
out the window.
yeah. So I think something did.
And then they're gonna build. They're still gonna build
Right,
that
that's
whole
because
thing behind it. Like
that's
it
because they
was-
were being sued, and I think they're being, well, at least when I read about it a couple of, I guess last year or sometime, or whenever they started the construction again,
Yeah.
because they were being sued and fined for I think 10 other buildings that they were supposed to put up that they just stopped.
Oh,
And so that's why
they were
action-
sketchy.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, they were sketchy.
Basically, we got what we wanted now.
Yeah. Now we're done. We're not gonna follow through with the rest of our
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah.
And then what can you do? I mean, what could the city do? Like, okay, well,
Okay, so now
They
since
could sue 'em.
Since
The
we're
city could
going
sue 'em
back
for a
to
couple
the city,
mil, but-
what can you do when you find things in Brooklyn that you do not agree with? You have to do something, because if you don't do,
De Blasio, Bill,
If you don't
Bill
do
lived in
anything-
Brooklyn. Bill lived in Brooklyn. Bill, if we got a problem,
Well,
come on, my dude.
The problem we have is we have to be active participants, and we cannot be complaining amongst ourselves. Right now, some of the issues that are going on is Fort Greene Park. There's 54 trees, I'm sure it's like 54, that are being removed to put up a cement, something that we don't need. And
Yeah.
I think Steady that was used for the original designers of Brooklyn, which was one that they actually threw out. So, and that's how it was presented. So we need people to call City Hall and complain, because the premise of Fort Greene is to have an oasis, to be enclosed, you know,
green
around
area.
a city. Right. And so that's not,
So first of all, there's no trees should come down in any parks.
yeah, but
They should be planted trees.
But what has happened, you have the land use, lease land deals,
Yeah, the
where,
deeds.
you know, someone
100-year
thought it was a
leases.
good idea to remove gardens and playgrounds and to put up something else for revenue. No, I don't think so. So,
Well, that's just greed.
yeah.
That's just greed, and
Yeah.
that's where like corporations distance themselves from the community, which
Yeah.
is a big problem that's going on in Brooklyn
so
now with
if
all
you
that's
look
happening.
right now in Fort Greene, the little park on Fulton,
the little park on Fulton up by
the G train.
yeah.
Okay, so if you look at that, like, you don't see what's going on, but if you say it's you're cleaning up the park, but you don't really see the trees, so we don't know what's going on with that. So we'll wake up and then we'll have more benches, more cement. And I think when I think of Brooklyn now, everything is the urban place we used to be, that was Brooklyn, the grittiness. I think now it's trying to be replaced by the facade of having everything look like, you know, a lot of cement, a lot of gray. You look at the subway, it's not really, you know, like, we spent a lot of money for that, but I'm not really feeling.
Not really impressed by
Yeah,
any of that progress.
everything is sort of like dark and gritty, you know.
Yeah.
So whatever the essence of Brooklyn was, is trying to be replaced by gray and urban. So I don't know, it just has this feeling that is fake. What do you think?
So that's a really good question. So sure, there is a lot
Okay,
of
the true Brooklyn experience, there is a feeling.
yeah,
and
it's gritty.
Right. And so you left several times and you went
Yep.
to other places. So were you ever like, did you ever have this feeling like it's something missing, like the place is nice, but it's just something that's just not right and you never could figure it out?
When I returned
When
back
you
to
lived
Brooklyn.
in, like, say you lived in California.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And you know,
yeah. So when I
everybody
lived in
knows
LA.
there's some beautiful places to live when you have palm trees and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
warm
yeah.
all
Oh my
year.
gosh. I
It's-
mean,
you know, you couldn't ask for anything more. But even when you have, well, from my experience, and I guess I was a lot younger then too, but it was like California is, you know, it's beautiful. You know, it's warm all day, it's laid back, but it's just some energy that I could not figure out what is different, what is missing.
so
And when I came back to New York this time, I was like, oh, it's just an energy that is just so totally New York that it's not an energy you can find anywhere else.
no, you
It's
can't.
its own unique flow of energy that connects you to everything in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you can have other cities, like I said, they have their thing, but it's not New York. So,
No, New York has always been its own. It's like we are our own breed. Like
Right.
we're a totally different breed from
and
anything you
yeah,
can find.
and I think also because of you know it's such a diverse place that not other places don't really have so many different cultures living here, and the true melting pot that it is, I think that creates part of the feeling, because you know you go places and it's so everything is like the same. People go to work,
Right.
they come home, and
Same routine.
it's like a nice life. But New York is like you got to work for this. Everything is.
Yeah, you gotta hustle.
Yeah, like you gotta hustle for your food because you gotta go and
You gotta hustle.
the lines along. Everything. Like I try not to get into what I call the crazy. Like as a New Yorker, you think this stuff is normal if you never left.
Right,
And
right.
we have our people that never left New York, but will defend it to the end and say, "Oh, it's no place like New York." But they never
don't
left.
even know. Yeah, they
So
don't know
for
what
me, I would just say, I can't get into like Sunday. If you live in New York, you're not going anywhere on Sunday if you have a car because you have your parking spot for Monday. I think that's ridiculous. So I don't drive. I had a car when I came back, but it's like until I move out of New York, I will not have a car. I will not have my life dictated by getting a parking spot or
that.
tickets and running out to move your
Man.
car at a certain time. I think for
tough.
me, that's like truly the crazy part about New York.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of
That
people that
extra.
live here, and if we all have cars, it'd be something else. I have a car, and I love the freedom of having my own car. But sure, traffic is terrible. Tickets don't help.
It's always
and
nice
parking
to
is
have
limited.
a car and be on your way out of New York.
Yeah. But parking is definitely limited, and I know that when I know that, and that's kind of something that kind of
Unless
goes
you
with
have
the
a driveway
territory.
or
Oh yeah, well, who's got a driveway in Brooklyn?
Well,
I don't know many.
people, yeah.
I do know. I know
Yeah.
some people that have, maybe one or two people that have a garage.
Yeah.
But they're the lucky ones.
So, that's all I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, this is
Do you know what
Brooklyn.
though? Brooklyn has, from my travels, I've always experienced that that I was always I was always in a position to be a real asset to companies outside of New York City because of the drive and ambition and kind of go-get-em attitude that we have as New Yorkers.
Okay.
Since we're always on the grind, we have this like real deep work ethic that is not necessarily like what you would find like your parents teaching you. It's more of a like sink or swim work ethic. And if you have high standards and you really want to accomplish things and earn a lot of money, you really have to step your game up.
Right.
There's a lot of competition, and I think that that's one of our strengths when we leave the state. And we go to places like California or Australia or
Right.
Italy. There's this kind of this drive that we have that's innate to us that we don't really think twice about, but other people see it as like this incredible momentum.
Okay.
And I think that is not only inspires the people that we interact with out of town or abroad, but also reaffirms our own position and our own abilities. It solidifies the fact that New York has so much to offer. And growing up in New York, having
glad
really
you said that. Now, like, I lived in Baltimore, and in California, my roommate, she was from Baltimore, and so she would always say, I just can't understand like how someone could grow up in Brooklyn, like. For a lot of people, it's like they see big buildings and they just think that, it's a bunch of people.
in skyscrapers.
No, people living on top of each other and I don't know, just the idea they have. Like to say, how, I can't imagine somebody growing up in Brooklyn. And I'm like, used to always find that it's like, well, we grow up in Brooklyn and you know, like a tree grows in Brooklyn.
Right, right.
It's a great
I
place.
mean, what do they imagine
Right, so
themselves
it's
growing
sorta
up? I
like
mean, what do you grow up on a
now.
farm with like
Yeah, so
a
you know,
corn
if
stalk?
you're
I mean, what's
a
going on?
city person, then you grow up with city
Yeah,
life.
we're city kids.
Yeah,
City kids.
and you know, really, like now when I meet people, and I find that it's so California. I think for me, I think Brooklyn is kind of California-ish, like the
How?
way it used to be. When you lived in California, it was like you went to a restaurant and no one is from California. It's all the people from every state that came to New York to make it. And that's to me, like I go out, I ask people where they're from. Rarely do I find anyone that's from Brooklyn. And, you know,
And if they're from Brooklyn, were they born in Brooklyn, or were they just
well,
living
you
there for a
know,
couple of years? Like, oh, I live in Brooklyn. I'm from
according
Brooklyn.
to a lot of people, they're from Brooklyn because they lived here, I would say, a couple of years.
Yeah,
So
but
they
ask
could,
them where they went to high school.
well,
That's one
I'm
of the
not
criteria. I'm like, oh, you from Brooklyn? For real? Where'd you go to high school? Oh, in Ohio?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
okay.
moved to Brooklyn.
Yeah, you're from Brooklyn. Okay.
And, you know, so it's a different thing. So that's what I see. And
Right.
I'm always wondering, like, so what is it about, like for other people, like what is it about Brooklyn that makes you think like it's such a great place? And they'll be excited and, you know, they just loving it. But you're deprived of culture. I think that's one of the things. Like you grow up other places, you go on a trip and you might go to the zoo. But if you grow up in Brooklyn, you're exposed to every famous.
Because of the Jewish, the Russian culture,
it
the
doesn't
Indian
stop.
culture,
You
the
know, we
Jamaican
have,
culture.
yeah.
I mean,
So at some point, if you're, I think from Brooklyn, it's like, okay, you know, it's not like you're going to miss anything. It's not like you never had, you know, culture, theater, and, you know, me, I love the theater and arts and, you know, but if I miss one thing, I think I'll live. But
I hope so. You,
I'm just saying, for some people, it's like an energy. It's an energy for them because they
Absolutely.
have a lot of catching up to do, you know, because
That's
they
true.
didn't have this. So I don't think we really think about that, how important it is, or how lucky we are to be from Brooklyn. I'm going to give Brooklyn some credit, even though, you know, I have my days where I'm just like, oh, you know.
you know what? I'm right with you there. So definitely, I got to give Brooklyn credit. Brooklyn has always been a melting pot, and Brooklyn has been a melting pot to a demographic that is that's much larger than you would find in Manhattan. Right. So Brooklyn, Queens, their demographic are like real deal. This is gonna sound weird to Manhattan and Bronx guys, but like Brooklyn, Queens, even the Bronx, it's like middle class. You know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Really family oriented, community driven, and you know these neighborhoods, and Brooklyn in particular, really spawn some of the greatest accomplishing artists that we have.
Yes.
You know, there is a sense of community in Brooklyn that you just won't find in Manhattan anywhere.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you said that word, community. That is one of the things that I find that was Brooklyn also. Like, you couldn't mention Brooklyn without thinking community. Do you
Right.
still feel a sense of community in Brooklyn?
I do. I
Okay.
must admit, with all the new money coming into the borough, it's diffused somewhat. It's not as clear as it used to be, which is one of the inspirations for me to start Truly Brooklyn.
Okay.
I think that, for lack of a better word, I think that there's some saturation going on. The gentrification is a part of it, but it's not solely responsible. I think that a lot of the new businesses that are moving to Brooklyn, because it's such a great place to be, have these huge marketing budgets, huge operating budgets that have really kind
for
of...
example, I think one of your newsletters you had about the old ice cream, Brooklyn.
Yes,
And
yes.
I sent you an article to let you know that it's no more.
I was so sad to hear
Yeah,
that.
so
So
I'm
sad.
like, that's a part of it. It's like,
know?
how do you replace something that is unique in itself, that is so totally Brooklyn, to replace it with what, Ample ice cream?
Yeah, it's not
29.
possible.
It's 29 of them. So now so this is my feeling. When I
Okay.
walk down the street now, you say mom, pop, I'm like, where are they? Because you could pretty much name them,
Right.
you know, and everything, it's nothing really special. It's, we have Dwayne Reed's, we have, Starbucks, Chipotle.
Oh my gosh, those
you
are all
know,
those are all huge companies.
all the
Please,
stores are
they don't need.
closing, which I predicted.
Yeah, but look at Choice Market in Brooklyn on Lafayette. Look at Bati, the Ethiopian place on Fulton. Look at Awash, another great restaurant on Court Street. Like I could go on and on with all the tiny little places that you should check out, and I
What
wouldn't
about
mention
the
Starbucks or any of those.
Queens restaurant on Court Street?
The Queens
Italian?
restaurant?
Yeah, the Italian restaurant.
Yes, yes. So that's that's a little further in from Atlantic Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, great places. I mean, and so those are I focus on those little spots, like the Starbucks and the huge conglomerates. Like they don't really register
Right.
with me.
So-
I've actually tuned out. Like I've trained myself to tune out of large conglomerates.
Right, but you're tuning out and you know your spots. But I'm saying when you walk downtown, well, half of downtown Brooklyn, that's another New York term, downtown Brooklyn.
Downtown
Like,
Brooklyn.
what is downtown? What do you consider downtown?
So downtown Brooklyn, I consider to be our financial district of it's the epitome of the Manhattan's financial district, right? It's the high rises and the major office spaces all happen downtown. And
So
it's
is that
mostly
the new term for, okay, when I say downtown, like growing up, like now we say Fort Greene, where you from? If it was Fort Greene, Clinton Hills, whatever, it was all downtown. So we didn't, you have the maps that are on the street and you look at them and you say Vinegar Hill.
Right.
Like, did you know where Vinegar Hill, do you know who?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know where Vinegar
We
Hill.
didn't have, well, I'm just saying, as a New Yorker, a Brooklyn night is like, everything was down. You had Bed-Stuy and,
Right.
Crown Heights, but you had Fort Greene, Clinton Hills, Wallabout, Navy,
Bushwick, you had Borum Hill, Carroll Gardens.
Yeah. But it's some other little areas that are on the map now that I'm guaranteed, so you all about Brooklyn.
Yes.
So ask people, look at those maps, look at some of these little places, ask them where that is. And I don't think they'll know.
Half of them won't know.
No.
Which is why Truly Brooklyn is such a great
Yeah.
thing. Because we'll let you know. And you know what? It works for us if you don't know where those places are. Like, not works for us, but it benefits us because that gives us, that enables us to that gives us the value.
Service.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you don't know about this great place? Mm-hmm. 5 Leaves on Broadway, like really? Or Mogador Cafe on Wythe Avenue.
Well,
like these are great places for brunch tomorrow. I mean,
Like you speak of a lot of places like in Williamsburg, which I can tell you.
Not only, but
a lot of places.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's like a whole new territory that I hardly venture there because it's so far.
What about Bushwick? Is Bushwick closer to you? Some great
I'm
places
just a
in Bushwick.
Downtown girl.
Downtown girl. Okay, so
like
downtown like Court Street or like downtown Borum Place, like Flatbush downtown, like DeKalb. I mean, Junior's is right there.
Yeah. Downtown, or I'm just saying places that are those like the places you mentioned. Are those fairly new places?
No.
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 Okay, so see. Yeah.
They have about 10 years.
So, like, say Dumbo. That would be a place. Like most people don't know. Well, they may know Dumbo, but they don't. Like I went
and
there.
And they do the Brooklyn Flea down there. They do like this every weekend. They have like the flea market down there.
Oh,
underneath. Yeah. Oh my gosh, with like all these great vintage items you can buy.
That's not the one. That's and which one is that? Because
Dumbo has their Brooklyn Flea. There's also a Brooklyn Flea in Williamsburg, and I believe there's a Brooklyn Flea in Park Slope as well.
Yeah, it's also one in Bishop Loughlin.
Oh,
and then
Bishop
you have
Loughlin,
the one
Smorgasbord. Smorgasbord, yeah, Williamsburg.
Some of the vendors.
But that's more
there.
food oriented
And then you had
nowadays.
the one that was in Bay Ridge.
Which I don't know much about, although I've heard about it.
Yeah, I went there. I'm not sure because they move around, so it's like you may have been there, maybe the same one, just relocated.
There you go.
So, anyway, this has been an episode of All Things Truly Brooklyn.
All Things Truly Brooklyn.
And, just reminiscing and bringing us current on how we feel about Brooklyn now.
I tell you, Brooklyn has always been the best. It's not something that just happened. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I was talking to my friend earlier. They were like, oh, man, Brooklyn's becoming so great. I'm like, what are you talking about? Brooklyn's always been great. The difference is people are moving to Brooklyn now because they can't afford Manhattan, and they're finding out, oh man, why didn't I move here years ago?
Yeah,
because it's so hot.
That was a part of something to realize about people. That's like a pet peeve, I guess, when you hear people say, "Oh, like Brooklyn is nice now." Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. That means that they didn't know.
No,
that means that they're late to the game.
It means a little bit more than that to me when I hear it. But I let it pass. But I always say, what does what does that mean?
Right.
Like, part of it is what you said too, that people didn't know. They missed out.
Yeah, they didn't know it was so cool. They thought it was so far. It's on the other side of it. It's like, I got to jump the pond to go to Brooklyn.
You had to be in Manhattan. Everybody wanted to live in Manhattan, and And
I lived in Manhattan too. Like, I
but
drank the Kool-Aid for a minute. I mean, I lived in Soho. I lived in Herald Square. But I realized, like, man, I walk out my door, it's like, boom, hustle and bustle, hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. When I walk out my door in Brooklyn,
you can
it's
walk.
like, oh, there's my neighbor. There's my neighbor walking his dog. There's my guy across the street selling me a coffee. Like, oh, I'm home, you know? But when I walk out of my apartment in Manhattan, it's just like...
So you see these people, do you say good morning? Do people
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I say good morning to everyone.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I know them, I'll say, I mean, even if I don't know them, if I have any interaction at all with them, I will be polite and say good morning. That's just how I was raised.
So I just want to say, for anyone that moves into Brooklyn or currently living here, and you're walking down the street and you don't speak, you should, because that's a part of being Brooklyn. I heard that. So
I heard that.
Anyway.
Say hello, good morning, how are you?
It has been fabulous talking to Damani.
Thank you.
And it's sign-off time.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Check out trulybrooklyn.com. Sign up on our website for your uniquely curated itinerary that'll help you. We call it Do Brooklyn. So hashtag Do Brooklyn on your way. Check out the itinerary. You can do it all in a weekend. You can do it all in a month. You can spread it out in a week if you want. But we really try and help to